Since it's World Cup time, I thought why not talk about the most relevant and interesting football celebrity hair transplants over time. In this episode, let's talk about Wayne Rooney's hair transplant. So this has been the procedure that changed public perception overall. First, in 2011, something happened that changed the way that many men viewed hair transplantation overall. A professional football player at the peak of his career publicly revealed that he had undergone a hair transplant procedure. And that football player was Wayne Rooney. At that time, this was unusual, as most celebrities kept their hair restoration very private. Many patients felt embarrassed to discuss their hair loss, and hair transplantation at that time was still associated by some people with unnatural results and all sorts of taboos from previous decades, let's say. But Wayne Rooney's decision brought the whole conversation in the mainstream. Today, I want to analyze Wayne Rooney's hair restoration journey and discuss what patients can learn from it. It's not a discussion about celebrity gossip, it's more a discussion about hair loss, proper surgical planning, how the field of hair restoration overall has changed and has evolved over the last 15 years. So why Wayne Rooney's case attracted so much attention at that time? Wayne Rooney began experiencing visible male pattern hair loss at a relatively young age. Photographs from his early 20s show progressive recession of the frontal hairline and also the temples. And for many men, this is one of the most emotionally challenging stages of dealing with their hair loss. It happens at a time when the appearance, confidence, and self-image are often very closely linked. What made Wayne Rooney's case unique was not the hair loss itself, it was his openness to the whole procedure. In 2011, he publicly confirmed that he had undergone a hair transplant. And that level of transparency was rare, especially at that time. And suddenly then millions of men realized that they were not alone in dealing with this. What was actually achieved in Wayne Rooney's case? When we compare photographs before and after the procedure, several changes immediately can become apparent. The frontal hairline was reconstructed, the temple recession was reduced, and overall the face became much more strongly framed. And perhaps the most important part was that the restoration appeared age appropriate for that time. This is something that patients quite often misunderstand, and the successful hair transplant does not necessarily need to be about creating the lowest possible hairline. It's about creating a hairline, a template of that hairline that will suit that individual for the long term. And the overall objective should be naturalness, not perfection, not chasing overall perfection and certain angles, certain particular measurements, because natural hairlines are not perfectly straight, they're not millimetrically precise, they're not perfectly symmetrical, and they should continue to look appropriate as the patient ages. Another thing that Wayne Rooney's transplantation brought attention to was the limitation of hair transplantations. So this is an important lesson that can be learned from Wayne Rooney's journey, is that the hair transplantation is rarely a one-time event, especially for younger patients. Male pattern hair loss is progressive, and the procedure does not stop the underlying genetic process. It simply redistributes existing hair from the donor area into the recipient area that is thinning or balding. As the native hair continues to miniaturize over the years, especially if patients are not on hair loss medication, additional procedures may become necessary. And this is why long-term planning, I keep saying, it is so important. When designing a hairline for a young patient, we are not simply planning for today, we are planning for the next decade, 2-3 decades, and even beyond that. What has changed since 2011, when Wayne Rooney first had his hair transplant? The hair transplant industry has evolved significantly. From the older and still powerful and used today FUT technique, it has evolved into the more modern FUE. This has further been refined. Punches have become smaller, meaning less trauma in the donor area. Donor management therefore has improved, finer and finer blades for recipient site incisions, less trauma in the recipient side. Hairline design has become also more sophisticated, and overall, I think both our understanding as surgeons and also on the patient side of hair transplant and the long-term need for planning has advanced considerably. Today, we start to focus more and more on donor area preservation because every graft that we extract today is a resource that we can no longer replace or use tomorrow. One of the biggest mistakes in hair restoration is to use too many grafts too early in life without considering future hair loss. What patients should really take away when discussing a celebrity hair transplant, let's say Wayne Rooney's case for that matter, is that they should not only focus on one thing, density. You should entirely view the picture as an overall total and consider graft distribution, hairline design, transition zones, donor area management, and how future hair loss will progress and the future hair loss pattern. These are all details that will eventually end up determining if a result will still look natural in 10-15 years' time. The best results that I've seen over many years are definitely not the ones that have been the densest and most certainly with not the lowest possible placed hairlines. They are often the ones that have been designed intelligently with distribution, with the naturalness and softness of the hairline, and this distinction matters enormously. Why Wayne Rooney's case still remains important today, 15 years after? More than a decade later, Wayne Rooney's procedure still remains one of the most influential hair transplants in public awareness and in topics, in discussions, in forums, and in online presence. Not because it was the largest, many have been done since then, not because it was the most dramatic, but because it helped to normalize the conversation around hair loss. And since then, many millions of men who have experienced male pattern baldness have done something about it. And seeking treatment should not be viewed differently from addressing any other aspect of health or appearance for that matter that affects confidence. The key is making an informed decision, choose a realistic goal, and understand that the whole process of a successful hair restoration consists of long-term strategy rather than a quick fix. In conclusion, Wayne Rooney's hair transplant did much more than restore his confidence and restore his hairline. It changed the conversation all around the world. It helped bring hair restoration into the mainstream, and it highlighted a very important truth, that hair transplantation is not about creating that perfect hair. It is about creating a natural, sustainable result that can continue to look appropriate over time, because ultimately the best hair transplant is not the one that attracts everyone's attention. It's the one that simply looks like it has always belonged there, like it's your own hair.